And now I will call her back and see if she can join us. So we need to start a minute or two before her. That would be great.
Okay.
Once the names start rolling in, we know we are connected to our friends. And here we are, friends. I am so glad all of you are joining us this morning. As you can see, we have two incredibly special guests. I can't think of anybody at this absolutely crucial time to talk to all of us other than April Ryan and Juan Proaño. Juan is head of LULAC, which is the premier Latino organization in the United States. What's more, he is in Los Angeles. He arrived in Los Angeles. So he's not only going to be able to share his expertise, his legal background, his understanding of the situation, but also to give us some firsthand account of what is going on. Friends, I am so glad you're with us. If you thought that we were waiting for some magic moment to say we are in crisis, you thought we weren't in crisis before. This is it. This has been the most serious, the most dangerous moment to date in the Trump administration. And the reason for that is this, friends. Thank you, Massachusetts. Thank you, people who are joining us. As you can see, we have Juan Proaño and April Ryan, and we're going to talk today exclusively about Los Angeles because there really is no other topic other than LA and the deployment of the National Guard. We are past our 1,000 mark already. So let me just briefly catch people up before we go to our guests. And we're going to cover it all, folks. Sit back. We may go a little bit longer than usual because there is nothing more important than this. So what do we know? We know that on Friday, there were a number of violent raids, and we should be careful about using violent. It is violence when ICE comes in, breaks down doors, throws people to the ground, goes to places of business. They instigated this on Friday. There were outbursts of pushback and of violence. There was no emergency widespread. Juan will tell you, in this enormous city that is Los Angeles, the incidents were small, were isolated. Nevertheless, come Saturday, Trump issued a memorandum that is frightful, folks. It's not just to deploy the National Guard in Los Angeles. What it says is that he is setting out notice without yet invoking the Insurrection Act that he will deploy not only National Guard, but regular military, not just in Los Angeles, not just in California, but anywhere in the country where there has been, in his words, rebellion or an inability to execute the laws, or he thinks there will be. Folks, he can send the military anywhere in the United States if this is allowed to stand. And what is going on is nothing less than the use of mass deportation as the pretext for tyranny. And that is what we are talking about. So let's get to the people who actually know what is going on. Juan, you arrived in Los Angeles. Describe for us what you saw when you arrived and some interaction you had with a photographer.
Yeah, thank you, Jen. So, yeah, last night I arrived in Los Angeles. I had to take a taxi into downtown because the Ubers were actually disabled. You could not take any Ubers or Lyfts actually into downtown Los Angeles. My driver actually dropped me off 2 blocks away from my hotel, where I encountered the National Guard. It was about 11:30 at night. It was very, very dark. In those 5 minutes that I was on that street, there were 2 flashbangs, and the National Guard was targeting some agitators in the area with rubber bullets that they were basically shooting at them. I ended up, really quickly getting off that street and actually encountering a freelance photographer. And so we decided to walk together safely back to his vehicle and to my hotel. He was wearing a American Red Cross vest, but he clearly had 2 cameras in his hand taking photographs, and I was asking him why he was actually using, had an American Red Cross vest. He said that he felt safer in the American Red Cross vest than in a press vest because he felt that they actually were targeting the press. Um, so we ended up actually working our way all the way back around a little bit more than a mile, to the hotel where we encountered the LAPD. Very, very different. LAPD was very community minded, was offering us direction and guidance so we can get safely to where we wanted to go. But I would certainly say that the National Guard was very, very aggressive, um, you know, using a tremendous amount of force, which for me, I was had a roller bag and a briefcase, essentially just trying to get to a hotel. But I imagined that they would be concerned what I had in that roller bag. But my concern is really the agitators, the folks that I did run into on my way back to the hotel. A lot of Latino workers that were leaving their late shifts were complaining about what was going on. This is their community. They feel ownership over the community. It's not reflective of the community, and they were not part of these protests. So it's gotten a little bit away from the Latinos here in this community. Very, very sad to see. But over the evening, I really didn't see much activity. No, I mean, the helicopters were out till about midnight. There were no police or ambulances running through the city. It's been pretty quiet here this morning at 6:20 in the morning. And so, very surprised to see such a beautiful city going through a really challenging time.
April, this is part of a pattern, of course. We've seen this gradual escalation, masks, unidentified ICE agents. We saw the arrest of Judge Dugan, the arrest of Congressman MacGyver, the arrest of the mayor of Newark. In the eyes of local communities, is this part of an ongoing pattern of intimidation, of an attempt to suppress them, to instill fear? What is the reaction of people who are now seeing these armed military folks in their communities?
Well, first of all, Jen, you have to remember we saw a little bit, we had a glimpse of this first term Trump. Think about June 2020 when we were in COVID and people defied the odds and went out into the street, peacefully protesting. And they had, what is it, pepper spray in front of the White House because the president wanted to take a picture at the church across the street. People were peacefully protesting. People were exercising their American right, and they had pepper spray. People are watching this, seeing that this is taking it to another level. There is intimidation. It's you could wonder, are we leading not just into authoritarianism, but into a police state of sorts?
Yeah.
Because look at what happened. Let's talk about Massachusetts. They rounded up 1,500 what they consider illegal migrants. They went into I saw pictures coming out of Martha's Vineyard in Hyannisport for people who had visas, work visas, etc. They went in there with masks. And by law, you're not supposed to hide your face. You're supposed to show your face as you're doing allegedly doing the work of the government, right? There is a mindset of a police state intimidation, and Juan may even be understand this. A lot of the civil rights organizations right now have kind of wanted to tamp down street protests because of exactly what's happening now. The provocation that could rise to this insurrection act, this provocation from the people who believe that this president wants to round up the criminals. This president wants to round up those who don't look like them. And I know the NAACP had not wanted to put people in the street because of this. And we're seeing a lot of these economic protests versus these street protests by a lot of these organizations because of this intimidation, this police state that we're in right now.
One, this is an attempt to intimidate. I will ask you in a bit about that that's not going to work. But in the meantime, I want to make something super clear to our viewers, our listeners, our contrarians. Trump has made this an issue about rounding up and deporting violent people. That is not what is going on. Describe where the raids were, the sort of people that they have rounded up, where they are now, and please give us an update, if you have anything, on David Horta, who is the president of SEIU, who was violently thrown to the ground. He was injured. He had to go to the hospital. He is under arrest. He's going to be arraigned this morning in Los Angeles on charges we do not know because he was simply standing around. Juan, tell us about who they're arresting, how they're being held, and what's going on with David.
Thank you, Jen. So let me rewind the clock a little bit because you said that this started on Friday. Well, on Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time, I actually received the call from a LULAC member reporting that there were over 200 immigrants being detained at the Roybal Federal Building. Okay. We were able to connect with a lawyer that was there with her client, a woman who was pregnant, who was expecting, who was there for a check in hearing. What they reported to us was very, very concerning. There was a young child as young as 2 years old that we received pictures and video of children being escorted by ICE agents in the dark with flashlights because the building, as federal buildings close at 5 p.m., was actually being used as a makeshift detention center. There were families, there were interview rooms, offices that basically had up to 30 people per room. They set up makeshift tents for women in the basement. And our understanding was that that actually happened on Tuesday. It started on Tuesday, where immigrants were being detained for more than 24 to 48 hours, and by Friday, we had already heard that some of them were actually in Texas waiting to be deported as well. That was the precursor to that what we saw on Friday, which was the raids on in the Garment District, in Paramount, in the Home Depots there as well. The number that I was tracking was about 45 arrests. Can you imagine all of this for 45 arrests? This for us was planned, it was orchestrated with the intent to escalate this to a national issue. It is clearly an attack on a sanctuary city, a very proud city of predominantly Latinos who are hardworking, honest people. And so that's really where our concern lies. Clearly, the civil rights of Latinos are being trampled here because it's like, where are your papers? The only criteria that they need to have is that you have brown skin. That's it. Brown
And
skin.
and if and that's it. It's it's profiling. Brown skin profiling. It's profiling and a lack of due process in some instances. This is immoral. As Juan said, you're checking into the rights of these people because it's profiling, brown skin, profiling for 45 people. Juan hit the nail exactly on the head. And then the lack of due process in some of these instances. And if you watch this weekend, you saw Congresswoman Maxine Waters try to get in
Right.
to the detention center to find out what's happening to the head of the SEIU, and they didn't care about her standing as a member of a co-equal branch of government to the president. They shut the door on her. You saw her try to hold the door open, and they pulled it shut on her. There's a lack of respect. There's a lack of morals. This I don't know. This We are watching the erosion of humanity.
Yep.
The immigration process is broken, but there's a further break in it in all of this moment.
Absolutely. And
Yeah,
she is not the only member of Congress who's been turned away.
right.
And as Jimmy Gomez, others have been trying to exercise their rights. This
Yes.
is what we saw in New Jersey when a congresswoman was arrested, a mayor was arrested. They have the obligation and the right in terms of Congress to go to these facilities unannounced. They have a right to be there. The federal government, again, is breaking the law. They are violating the law. Um, Juan, I want to ask you a little bit about the response. I think we all know what this is about. This is about intimidation, about shutting people down. What are we going to see today around the country? And tell us about the involvement of the interfaith community, which is incredibly important in Los Angeles and other places.
So a lot of that really is going to focus around the hearing with David Huerta. So a leader in the community, with deep, deep ties, obviously Latino as well. Our concern is that they'll probably bring federal charges against him because this wasn't against an LAPD officer; it was actually against an ICE agent, a federal agent. So SCIU is essentially mobilizing here in Los Angeles and around the country to get David Huerta out of jail to get him free. In addition to that, you're seeing a lot of other organizations, including the interfaith community, that are rallying support, not just for David Huerta, but also for the Latino and immigrant communities around the country. What you're seeing in Los Angeles is not only happening in Los Angeles. These detentions in court, we've seen in Texas, we've seen those in Arizona, and we are hearing credible reports that they will actually continue and begin to roll out the same game plan that they have done here in Los Angeles in other predominantly Latino communities, potentially some additional sanctuary cities as well. So, needless to say, our community certainly is on alert, very sensitive to what's going on in real time.
And
So
let me stress, these protests are core First Amendment activities. They are peaceful. The word has gone out. Do not engage in any physical contact with these people. It's interesting. The National Guard is supposed to be there only to support federal DHS and other federal officials and federal property. There was a conversation between Tom Homan and the mayor, in which, as the mayor related, Tom Homan said, "Oh, yes, they're not there for police work." So watch for this. Do they cross that line? Do they violate posse comitatus, which has
mm,
criminal penalties, if they are now going from simply protecting federal property and officials to engaging on the street? And I think they are coming right up to that line. We're going to see how far they go. But again, the message is peaceful. The message is protecting core First Amendment rights. We have now heard from the mayor, and then last night, a tremendous statement, couple of interviews from Governor Newsom. I've been critical of Governor Newsom in the past, but he was really magnificent. What he said is absolutely the case. This is a provocation. The violence is being caused by Donald Trump. He is creating the very problem he says exists. This is not a situation that LA can't handle on its own. This is not anything extraordinary. And he said to Tom Homan, who has been threatening to arrest everyone from Tony Evers, the governor of Wisconsin, to him, he said, "Come and get me. What do you want? Come, try to arrest me."
sure did.
And that is exactly the right attitude. When a bully comes along, you have to respond. And what's going to happen today is the governor, as we understand it, is going to sue. And he's going to sue, our understanding is, because the president does not have the right to invoke and implement what we call Title 10, because he is not acting through the offices of the governor as specified in the statute. And there is
Right.
no predicate for this. There is no invasion. There is no rebellion. There is no failure to execute the laws. April?
And Jen, and that's interesting. You're saying that President Trump acted unilaterally on this. He did not get the governor's support. The governor was trying to handle this on his own, and it did escalate because the president brought it in. But think of this, the president, who's going to pay for this? For 45 people, it's going to be the state of California who's going to have to carry the bill for this. As the president has already said, he wants to do some financial things, withdraw federal funds from a state that offers this nation so much in tax dollars. Now, think about this. In Los Angeles City alone, and I talked to Mayor Karen Bass before President Trump was president, became president the second term, you have 69 billionaires. in that city alone. 69 billionaires with a B, right? So, but that city is also comprised of a large portion of migrants, from Latino migrants and also from Asian communities. We're not hearing about the other communities being attacked. We're not hearing about people in the Asian community or other communities being attacked. Lulak is right. Juan is right. This is about brown skin. It is about the browning of America. This is the first thing that he began with the first term, and he's carrying it out on steroids this time. Los Angeles has a very different economy. They are very fortified economically through the work of their migrant workers. And
Absolutely.
this country has a very interesting dynamic with economics. It works for migrant workers. And what they're trying to do, Karen Bass said this when I interviewed her. She said it will devastate the community
Yes.
if indeed they shut down the borders and do what they want to do. But all of this, for Juan, what Juan said, 45 migrants that they've caught so far.
And
Mhm.
to
This is
underscore that, they have just come through these devastating fires. They have an enormous
that part.
construction task. How are they going to possibly rebuild the city? This is another kick from Donald Trump in the shins. And it was interesting. When Newsom talked to Trump, he said, Trump didn't even raise this issue. He's ranting about other issues. This is
Right.
about retaliating against the state of California, which is
Yeah.
a progressive state, which is a brown and black state, which he views as the epicenter of progressivism. And so this is aimed at retaliating and pushing back. Juan, what message are you sending out to LULAC members, to union members, to people who want to do something, but are really, quite frankly, afraid to go out or afraid that they will be seized and disappeared?
Yeah, Jen. So let me touch on one thing that April
Absolutely.
said there. In regards to, we talked about this being planned and orchestrated, but guess what? It wasn't planned very well, right? The reason that they were using the federal building as a makeshift detention center is because the ICE centers are already overcrowded, right? They're already overcrowded. They're effectively moving to accelerated deportation because they can't keep these immigrants in the system long enough, in many cases, for them to actually exercise their full due process as well. And so, the system is already at overcapacity. They're not going to be able to reach 3,000 deportations per day, is essentially what they're actually hoping to achieve. Now, our message, obviously, to the community is peaceful protest, right? Peaceful protest, peaceful protest, peaceful protest. We want our community out there. We want them to be loud, but we also want them to be safe. There are many that could potentially put themselves in jeopardy by going out there and protesting and engaging with these different agencies and law enforcement as well. But I think what what you will see and what you will find is that the Latino community is very humble. They support each other. They support their brothers and sisters in the African American community and the Asian community as well. And we are as shocked as anyone about what's going on in this country. What I would ask is support organizations like LULAC, go to lulac.org. We need your help because Latino nonprofit organizations are understaffed and under resourced to take on this kind of work. So we need partners like the Contrarian. We need partners like the Leadership Conference as well. And so we're out there doing everything that we can to be support our community and make sure that they get due process and that their civil rights are not trampled.
And let me make a point that April mentioned to me before we went live, and that is that in their fury to arrest anybody in sight who they think is a migrant, they are also picking up African Americans who have no connection
Yes. Yes.
whatsoever to Latin America.
Yeah.
And what's worse, there is now going to be the BET Awards in Los Angeles, a major event with Black
BET Awards.
stars.
Yeah, the BET Awards.
The
BET Awards
awards.
today. Yeah.
Tell us how the African American community is seeing this and the danger they are being put in because of this.
So let me say this. You gave me two parts, BET and African Americans who are targeted in some instances too. So let me start with the latter part. The African Americans, I know, particularly when all the raids were happening in Martha's Vineyard and in Massachusetts, there are a lot of people in the Black community who resemble our brothers and sisters or cousins in the Latino community. And so many people are now carrying passports in fear of the fact that they could be perceived as Dominican or Mexican or something. I mean, it has gotten to that point. People are afraid. And I mean, and I'm just going to give an example. For instance, for me, many people thought I've been a Dominican if they didn't know who I was. I'm an African American. And I love my Dominican brothers and sisters. I haven't been there yet. But, it's not only just our brothers and sisters from the Latino community, but it's also we are them. And what they're going through, we're going through. And the NAACP has been stepping in, standing with them, the National Urban League, so many of the civil rights organizations, because what's done to them is done to us. And that border issue, they're saying it's the border. But that border, there's so many different people that come to that border. It's not just Mexicans, it's Haitians, it's Africans, right? It's Ukrainians. But the people that they're worried about look like me, look like my brothers and sisters who are Latino. Um, it's gotten to be, it's this has gotten to be such a crazy dynamic. And many African Americans are carrying their passports, carrying real ID to show that, look, we were born here. And it's not just that community, it's spreading out. And now, as far as the BET Awards, BET has these big awards every season or so, and it's happening. It's supposed to happen in Los Angeles, in the epicenter of all of this. And we're trying to figure out how this is going to happen. I mean, I talked to Cecile Gay, who is the head of Black Lives Matter Global Network. She was in town for it. She said it spread from Compton and Paramount into the Fashion District, and she's there for the awards, and we're trying to figure out, and I'm trying to find out now, it's very early, but what's going to happen, because that's the epicenter of everything right now, Los Angeles. And so and if it does go on, I'm sure they're going to deal with this issue. I'm sure it's going to be there, because our Latina brothers and sisters are also part of the rap game in the music industry.
Absolutely. Now, I hope this has been helpful to you. You are never going to get coverage this detailed, this specific, this accurate any place but the Contrarian. And I want to just sum up a couple points. One, this is Trump initiating violence. This is caused, provoked, planned by Donald Trump. Secondly, the response is peaceful, peaceful, peaceful protest. And the third is you all have an occasion coming up, if you don't go out before June 14,
Yeah.
no King's Day. Could there ever be a worse demonstration of a monarchical, tyrannical mind than someone using the military against his own people? Find an event near you on June 14th. Go to it. Peacefully protest. And at 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock that evening, April and I are going to be bringing you live coverage with a long list of fabulous guests. We hope to have a Democratic governor of a very prominent state. We're going to have historians. We're going to have indivisible people. So it's going to be really an event. But in the meantime, keep your eye on the ball. Trump has created the violence. The protests have to be peaceful. And this is about nothing less than, as April said, preventing a police state. So thank you, Juan, and thank you,
Thank you.
April. And we will be covering this every day here at the Contrarian. Have a great day, folks. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you.